Hello everyone, it's James again, and after posting videos about the normal distribution, we're now going to visit the binomial distribution and look at some things that they have in common. Again, if you need to get the app, you should be able to go to the App Store and look up Art of Stat Distributions app, and it should be the first result. If not, it should be among the first three, and you should get that and it'll be on your phone just like so. So let's go ahead and open that up. And let's navigate. Instead of the continuous distributions like normal, we should be able to move down to the discrete distributions being binomial, and then we'll move to that one. So let's open that up and let's go from there. The binomial distribution counts the numbers of successes in n Bernoulli trials. So what exactly does that mean, or what even more broadly does that mean? Well, just in the grand scheme of things, it tends to be that the binomial distribution counts the number of successes, with each one of them having a given percentage chance of success and a percentage chance of failure, of course one emulating the other, and how many times that comes up out of how many trials. In fact, if you're thinking about the binomial distribution, you should just be thinking about coin flips at the most simple level. Imagine you're flipping a coin 10 times and you're counting the number of heads. That number of heads could be anywhere from 0 to 10 heads if you flipped it 10 times, and the binomial distribution's intention is to tell you how likely it is to get maybe 0 heads or 1 head or 2 heads or 10 heads even. Bernoulli trials have 3 key features, and the very first one is that each trial can only result in 2 outcomes. When I mentioned coin flips, that means the heads or tails being the 2 options. And one of them is usually in statistics defined as success, with the other being failure. The second key feature of Bernoulli trials is that each trial must be independent of one another. You cannot have coins hitting coins while you're flipping them, impacting each other, or anything like that. Or if I got a heads on my first coin flip, that's not allowed to have any impact on the coin flip of the second. The third feature of Bernoulli trials is that the probability of successes must be consistent trial to trial. We can't be using a coin with a 50% chance of heads like most normal coins, and then after 3 flips we end up deciding to use a rigged coin that has an 80% chance of heads. That breaks the Bernoulli trials and no longer applies to the binomial distribution. The binomial distribution simply will count how many successes there are in n trials. And it's honestly about time to go into the app and visualize this kind of thing. On the very first page of the binomial distribution section, we have the n number of Bernoulli trials and the probability of success as sliders, and that can really help us visualize things. So let's first set the Bernoulli trials to 10, and the second slider, the probability of success, to 0.5 to kind of emulate our flipping a coins example. Now let's take a look at the graph. In the x-axis, you shouldn't be surprised to see 0 through 10 on the x-axis because that's all the possible options, and the bars show the likelihood of seeing 1 or 2 or 3 successes out of our 10 Bernoulli trials. That's what the binomial distribution does, remember? It shows you the probability of getting x successes out of n Bernoulli trials. It makes a lot of sense to look at how we can move around the probability of success and see that if we were working with a rigged coin that had only a 20% chance of heads, how that really changes the graph and shifts all of the numbers, and we can move it up to maybe 75% chance of getting a heads because we're using a different kind of rigged coin, and see what's happening there. Also kind of mess with the number of trials and see how that impacts it, and see that obviously a lot more options are being added to the mix. If something's really confusing to you and you're not really sure what's going on in front of you, you could also read more by pressing the question mark in the upper right. And that kind of gives you a little bit of a rundown of what's going on in front of you in terms of just English and exactly what each tab that you're in, the Explore Distribution and the Probability tab, are doing. Just like our normal distribution, the mean and the standard deviation are still really important, and you can see at the very bottom here the mean of 5 and the standard deviation of 1.581. And if you scroll up, that's also directly under our graph, so make sure you keep that in mind because it's important for the future and for even looking at how the graph changes as you change the number of trials or the probability of success. I hope this has been helpful so far for exploring the distribution of the binomial distribution in the Art of Stat Distributions app, and I'll see you in the next video.